Roe v. Wade was a 7-2 decision written by a justice appointed by a Republican president, Richard Nixon. In the 5 decades that followed Roe v. Wade, justices appointed by Republican presidents from Eisenhower, Nixon, and Reagan, George W. Bush, were among the justices who voted to uphold the principles set forth in Roe v. Wade. It was 3 justices named by one president, Donald Trump, who were the core of today's decision to upend the scales of justice and eliminate a fundamental right for women in this country. The court has done what it has never done before, expressly take away a constitutional right that is so fundamental to so many Americans that had already been recognized.
Oh, President Biden's upset. He wants you guys to know, hey, that whole overturn of Roe versus Wade is unacceptable. Can you believe some of these presidents appoint justices that are willing to overturn Roe versus Wade, continue to put judges in place that are in favor of overturning Roe versus Wade against women's reproductive rights? Can you believe it? As a Democrat, he's outraged. So this is what happened. Here's a headline. Joe Biden reportedly plans to appoint anti-abortion Kentucky judge to a lifetime seat. Here's the sub headline there. Biden reportedly made a deal with Mitch McConnell to screw over pregnant people less than a week after Roe versus Wade was overturned. Crazy how that works. How about some details? President Biden is set to nominate an anti-abortion Republican lawyer. His name is Chad Meredith to a lifetime federal judgeship in Kentucky in exchange for Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell agreeing not to hold up future federal nominations by the Biden White House. Mitch McConnell's holding a gun to the head of the president of the United States who was elected. And the president of the United States has to make deals and appoint more people that Mitch McConnell wants appointed so that he can promise not to continue blocking judges that the American people who voted for Joe Biden to appoint. Continuing on, Meredith, who's a Federalist Society member, defended a 2017 Kentucky abortion law requiring doctors who perform abortions to first perform an ultrasound and describe the image to the patient. Note that the Federalist Society is responsible for basically handpicking Republican Supreme Court nominees and ensuring that they would overturn Roe. This all is like it's a weird circle that goes around with all these different politicians and judges and decision makers. It's all just the same people getting appointed, no matter what the reason is. There's more. Meredith told a federal appeals court in 2018 that the law ensures women fully understand the decision, saying not every patient understands the consequences of the abortion procedure. I want you guys to review a little bit of the things that politicians have said from state level all the way up to the president about what they know about women's reproductive systems, also how abortion works, also different kinds of pregnancies, also the dangers of different situations, also just the women who even seek reproductive care like this. They don't know, but he's gonna tell us that, many of these women don't understand how their bodies work. More, Kentucky Right to Life has written glowingly of Meredith though. The group wrote in 2020 post that its website, on its website, that it has been very impressed with Attorney Meredith's abilities. He represented Kentuckians in numerous legal cases brought against the pro-life laws passed by our General Assembly during the Bevin administration. So they're talking about Governor Matt Bevin of Kentucky from then. And also, so the Planned Parenthood Alliance also, they issued a response to this, you could imagine. They did tweet this out. Lifetime appointments to federal courts for people with records like Chad Meredith are unacceptable. And the reason we've lost the federal right to abortion, we deserve better, Rivana. So again, really fast before you jump in here. You've got a president that's upset. He's upset. Nancy Pelosi's upset. She's reading poems. Biden's asking for money, so is Pelosi. We're gonna work hard to make sure that we can ensure women's rights in this country as we go behind your back and do something like this.
I mean, it's expected. Nancy Pelosi was just campaigning for Henry Cuellar over Jessica Cisneros in her, I think, Texas 28 race. He won by less than 300 votes. And I have a strong feeling that the Democratic establishment intervention had a lot to do with that. And Henry Cuellar is a pro-forced birth candidate over Jessica Cisneros, who is a progressive woman, a Justice Democrat, and someone who has fiercely fought, to protect, and says that she would only vote to protect the rights to abortions for people who can get pregnant. And so, I mean, it's in keeping with everything I've come to expect with the Democratic Party, but like, just stop lying. Just stop lying to our faces. Don't come out here and say that you give a crap about overturning of Roe if you're gonna then fall right into Mitch McConnell's trap and appoint a federal judge who is pro-forced birth. Don't pretend that you care. Just admit that you don't care. But I mean, it also is just sort of like this. I always refer to it as like West Wing politics, the idea that Democrats and Republicans can just sit down across the table and work something out. You just have to be so insanely stupid to think that Mitch McConnell is gonna follow through, and he has no obligation to follow through on any promises. You appoint this judge to the federal bench, and then he blocks any appointments moving forward if the Republicans take the Senate after the midterms. What obligation does he have to Joe Biden to follow through on this promise? Absolutely none. I was telling you before the show that it's like Lucy and the football, and Joe Biden is Charlie Brown, Mitch McConnell's Lucy, and every time Joe Biden's like, you're gonna let me kick the football this time, right? Mitch McConnell's like, yeah, sure. And of course he's just gonna pull it right out. He's never gonna let you kick the football. So stop playing his game and get tough and do something that matters.
This is the thing, Mitch McConnell has been playing this game for many years. There's a thing about lifetime politicians like him and Joe Biden, is at least you would think, hey, they know how the game is played and they play it well, no matter how nefarious and backstabbing it is. Everything Mitch McConnell does has a plan for his own power growth and the people around him's power and economic growth. So in this case, why, as Joe Biden being this old politician, not know that Mitch McConnell's this? I know it. I've only been following politics since around the time I started with the Young Turks. I actually didn't care all about politics before I started here. So if I understand who Mitch McConnell is, how is the Joe Biden who actually knows him doesn't understand who Mitch McConnell is? My answer is he does know who Mitch McConnell is, actually. And this is part of Joe Biden's playing of the game as a politician, around and around and around, and coalescing power around him and having some kind of legacy that he thinks that he's building. Mitch McConnell specifically told us when it comes to judges, he does what he wants and he'll change his tune. We saw what happened with Obama's appointment, how he turned that down. And then later they asked him again, if this happens when you're still heading this entire process, Mitch McConnell, would you do it again? And he's, well, no, I wouldn't do it that way. There's a Republican as the president. I would completely flip my principles and do what I would need to get more Supreme Court justices on to get us to where we are right now. Another part about this, because I remember we talked about the $250 million that Donald Trump stole from his people when he said, hey, donate to me because I was fraudulently beaten out of my election. They gave him all this money and he pocketed it. And I said, what is it that Trump supporters would say and do when they see blatantly and openly what he's done to steal from them and mislead them? Where do you go now? How do you explain yourself? This is the same situation because I still see Democratic voters, establishment Democratic voters that go, hey, you guys, hands off Joe Biden. He's doing his best. When you see stories like this, what is your thought process to apologize to yourself for still thinking he has your interest in mind? There's not many things you can go to there.
If I can jump in one last time, I'll just say, do continue to put pressure on Joe Biden and be relentless. Like, don't stay on his ass, because the pressure that he's been feeling from protesters and activists and organizations forced his hand in coming out against the filibuster today, something that we've been trying to get him to do. But today he finally came out and gave a full, throated denouncement of the filibuster and says that he wants the rule change immediately. So, and he wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for people criticizing him and protesting and the relentless efforts of activist groups. So don't stop. Don't give in and don't think that, it's easy to get black-pilled in moments like these, but there's still a fight to be had and we need to continue to fight it.
I agree. And by the way, the first step is the pressure that has him say it. The next step is the pressure to have him do it. They say a lot, not much is done. Next step. And I get it. Everyone has their lives. They understand that too. Everyone has their lives. Everyone, if your job is something else that's demanding and has nothing to do with politics or following this stuff, it's understood. And you're like, oh, I thought we handled that. No, it's window dressing.